Welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next super stock live stream, September 9th. We're back with VSBLTY Groupe, VSBY, VSBGF over the counter. And for anybody that's new to our program, our goal is to bring you those stocks which have that 10x to 100x upside potential. So far, we've had 8 of them this year in the last 18 months. Stocks that are between 1,300%, 5,000% so far is the record. We're going to find out if we're going to have our first 100 bagger. Maybe it'll be VSB. To see, we're eager to have our first 100x stock. So maybe VSBLTY Groupe can be that stock. So the format for today is going to be very simple. The company is going to, we're going to have Jay do a video presentation. Then we're going to open up for Q&A, and then decide for yourself if you think VSB is going to be that 10x to 100, the next 10x to 100x stock. So with that, Jay, let me turn it over to you, and sure. We'll go through the demo, and I'll pop back in for the Q&A.
Great. So thank you, Jack.
Take it away.
Can you see my screen? Okay. I was talking to one of our investors yesterday, and he was saying what we need to start doing as an organization is telling our war stories. That's the phrase he used, our war stories. And so this presentation today is really just me talking over a bunch of video that we've collaged into a mashup. I'm going to share with you some of the things we're doing and provide a little bit of a voiceover so that people that are tuning in today can see exactly what we're doing. I'm going to start the video here. What I'm going to just point out quickly on this video, if you don't mind, is some of the vignettes of the various applications. And I'm going to let this roll, and then don't worry, because we're going to come back to it later to show you precisely what we're doing. On the top here, you're seeing some examples of retail activations that we've done in sort of live space. On the left-hand side, you're going to see the cooler. I'm sorry, I'm going to back that up just a minute so everyone can see that, and I'm going to stop the video. On the left-hand side, you're going to see the cooler deployment, which we've been talking a great deal about. This is our Imbera relationship, and on the top panel of this particular slide, you're going to see various activation types. We're not a hardware company, but because we found ourselves in a situation where we're building specific applications for retail, we have partnered with hardware companies like a Lenovo to build these applications for us. And I'll just advance a little bit further to go into a little bit more detail. Just as a bit of a primer, or for those of you that know, a refresher of what VSBLTY actually does in terms of how we go to market, we have 3 discrete software modules. We have Data Capture, which is the privacy compliant anonymous analytics component. And we'll share a little bit about what that looks like in just a moment. Vision Capture, which is the content management piece. It is the piece of the software that governs the visual display. And of course, VSBLTY Vector, which started with only facial recognition and has now expanded into facial recognition, demographic capability, license plate detection, weapons detection. So that entire category of products is really best described as our security suite. I'm going to fast forward to this really quickly to a narrative that we talk about called the store is media. And this is actually critical to understand if you're to fully appreciate the opportunity that the company has in front of it. We're now looking at a place where the physical bricks and mortar is beginning to be valued as a really valuable media channel. If you understand anything about our ABI deal, which I can talk about in just a moment with some examples, you'll understand that principally what we're doing in that deal is we're deploying a media network in retail media network. And it is sold to consumer packaged goods companies who want to influence people at the point of decision, or what they call in retail, the moment of truth. Here's an example of the types of deployments we would have. And this is a typical grocery store. An example is a really high value. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to rewind. Stop the display, stop the video here really quickly. That's an end cap. An end cap is the end of an aisle. It's actually considered to be the most valuable advertising landscape or promotional landscape in the store. We're digitizing this platform. You can see there's a display up top, and there's display what we call shelf strips at what you might consider to be eye level. There's also a camera. I'm going to use my mouse right here. Hopefully everyone can see it right there. That camera is doing live analytics in retail at an end cap. And what you're seeing, what you will see more and more of, without doubt, this happens to be a Coca-Cola deployment. AHA is their product. We're seeing more and more activation at end cap that is basically a brand takeover. The brand will basically deploy the technology on the end cap. There's other participants in this ecosystem, but the brand is not actually paying for the equipment, for the deployment. They're actually paying for the space as media. And that's the pivot point that this marketplace is going into. Another example, two more examples are kiosk and cooler. We're going to come back to them. Some of the key visibility capabilities, I'm just going to rewind real quickly. This is unique visibility proprietary know-how and patented. The three concentric zones represent media values. If someone passes this kiosk that is right on the left-hand side and doesn't look at it, they are valued in a certain way by media buyers. If, however, they pass and look, they're valued in a different way, a higher value way. If they pass, look, and approach, like this individual is right here, they're valued higher. Of course, a non-attentive shopper is worth less than a attentive shopper, clearly. And of course, the shopping location is extremely valuable because we are influenceable at that point of sale. We can be influenced. We're subject to suggestion, and we know, based upon the science, that things that you buy in retail are heavily influenced by the things that you experience in retail. They call it in retail parlance the moment of truth, the place where decisions are made. To complete the conversation around these concentric circles, the green is interaction. So if I can get a campaign, and it's about the power of the content as much as anything, if I can get a campaign to encourage you as a shopper to touch the screen, engage with the screen, somehow engage with the brand, you become a more valuable impression. Now I've pivoted to advertising language, but a passing by that doesn't pay attention, a passing by person that doesn't pay attention is worth less than someone that actually engages and interacts, obviously. So those are the three engagement zones that visibility talks about. Some applications, this is one we're working on with Sensormatic, which is a loss prevention pedestal, which has fitted on it an LCD screen for consumer engagement at the point of entrance to retail. So at the same time that this thing is doing alerting on looking for RFID tags or apparel tags that have been attached to product that have been removed from the store. And so it conducts a loss prevention exercise, but it also, and at the same time, conducts advertising, and because of the camera right up here, analytics as well. This is a breakthrough technology. There's several 100,000 of these deployed in the marketplace at the moment, and Sensormatic, our partner, is the dominant player by far. This is the Embera engagement. We're now calling this Cooler as Media. I'd like to talk a moment just for a second about Cooler. Cooler is a really attractive platform inside of stores as a media platform. Obviously, we all know who the major beverage players are, both on the alcoholic front, on the non-alcoholic front. But the reason why Cooler is so valuable and why it's going to be a significant contributor to visibility's bottom line in the current year is that it is a destination. I'm dropping by the convenience store to buy a 6-pack of Budweiser. That's destination shopping. And it's also very large in terms of its actual size. It's 50 to 55 inches. So there's very important and very creative executions you can do on the Cooler door that has enormous impact on consumers. So it's number one, its landscape, its size, and the second, the fact that it functions as a destination. And the idea that we can actually divide up the physical display, the display itself, into portions or zones that could highlight product within the cooler. And of course, as we often point out, it is not only the ability to display on the cooler, but also for the cooler to be completely transparent. Some examples of the work that we've done. It's also, as I should point out really quickly, a touch screen. Oftentimes what we talk about when we're speaking about stores media is not only the ability to drive promotion and advertising messaging and narrative to consumers live and in retail, but to measure that experience. This is the computer vision. If you go back to the module slide, this is what we call data capture, privacy compliant computer vision. So not only is AB InBev or PepsiCo deploying a cooler to do display for promotion and advertisement, but they're measuring the performance of that display. You measure that demographically, you measure that by dwell time, and I'll show you some examples of that as we advance this conversation. GDPR protected is our validation that we are privacy compliant and we're not in the spooky and creepy area of gathering up analytics in retail. Quickly, I'm going to let this run really quickly to show you exactly how we capture the sum of faces that have been detected by the camera. So this is exactly how we correlate data for the purposes of brand validation in retail. You see on the right-hand corner, lower corner with the laptop there, which is actually showing the content that was playing, and then we correlate that or align that with the number of impressions we're delivering and the nature of those impressions. It's the sum of visitors, but it's also the breakdown. This is, I'm going to stop this and rewind it for just a second because I want to make sure we get the whole thing. But the setup is important. What I'm about to show you in terms of the video that you just saw briefly, a brief piece of, is an actual deployment we've done in Modelorama. We're in several hundred stores now, and we might actually be over 1,000 at the moment. I'm not sure as of this exact moment. But what we're deploying is actually what's captured in this video. This is an actual Modelorama, and you'll see precisely how we're using the technology, all components of the technology. It's obviously identifying a female as she's in retail, and we've got a cooler door that plays promotion and advertising. You saw how it was once transparent and then became, as she approached, it became, I'm going to stop for a moment, became transparent as she approached. I'm going to run that again just so everyone can see it. Transparent and then digital. This is the principal application in Modelorama right now. It's a 40-inch screen with a camera right here. So that camera is providing the analytics. The screen is providing, of course, the advertising, but the camera is meant to not only generate advertising metrics and measurement of all types, but also the security platform that we run. So we're running both data capture, vision capture. Here's an example of the type of information it's gathering up in real time. So we've just shown you how, and I'm going to run that again so people get it. We've just shown you how when she's looking at that screen, she's motivated to engage in a purchase at the point of sale, right? The whole idea is we're influencing at the point of sale. This is the metric that we know works and we can measure, of course. Here's the measurement. Visitors by hour, by day, week, many gradients of measurement. We connect, and in this particular slide, what we're showing is the performance of each creative. So we've done a creative type in retail, and we're actually comparing the performance of one creative to another creative in real time. So this allows, these are all fake brands for the purposes of this presentation, but let's say it was PepsiCo versus Anheuser-Busch. We can tell you which campaign was more successful, and we can break that down by time of day, by gender, and by age, which is fascinating because it gives the retailers an opportunity to really optimize their messaging in retail. I'm going to pivot over to the security side of our business really quickly here by showing you a video that we produced in conjunction with a large city police department on the East Coast where we're deploying our technology. I'm going to move forward. Well, I've got a reference here to Mexico, but I think most people who have seen my presentation before have seen me refer to the impact we've had in Mexico City. The idea here is that we're providing, actually, I'll take a quick moment to speak about this. The idea is that we're providing on people's mobile phones the means with which to secure their own neighborhood. This is not providing video cameras in public spaces and in city avenues to feed directly to law enforcement. It is not that. It is providing cameras within neighborhoods so that the neighborhoods themselves can maintain control of their privacy, of their security. They assert control of their own security. This achieves a bunch of objectives, some of them subtle. We're no longer talking about selling solutions to law enforcement, you know, Big Brother, because at this moment in time, in the way our culture is behaving, that's a negative connotation. Instead, we're bottom up. We're bringing security capability to citizens, and we're allowing citizens to share that video capability amongst themselves, and if they wish, to share video with law enforcement. You see on the right-hand side, Adrian Relicluva, who's the mayor of Benito Juarez, which is a subsection of Mexico City, you know, doing in a press conference how effective this technology has been in reducing crime. So, of course, we're very delighted about that, and we're showing some enormous progress. We produced, on the right-hand side, you'll see a production of a video that we've done, and as we launch our new website in the next coming days, you'll be able to find that video on that website. Here's a quick thing, and I'm gonna let this run for a minute because this is actually really kind of important. These are multiple cameras deployed at multiple locations. I'm gonna go from left to right. I'm actually gonna rewind that again, and I'm gonna stop it. On the left-hand side, you're seeing car classification and car density tracking in real time. A camera on a pole looking at the Embarcadero, a major thoroughfare in Mexico City, and counting the cars and then classifying the cars. In a moment, I'll let it run so you can see that happening. And on the right-hand side of the same, on this view here, is actually the same thing, but in classifying those vehicles by type: bicycle, motorcycle, a pedestrian, a car, a truck, a bus, that sort of thing. On the lower left-hand side, you see the same thing occurring, but now you're picking up license plates. And on the lower right-hand corner, you're seeing one of our guys, just so everyone knows, being identified by a facial recognition camera that happens to be outside the perimeter of a location. So I'm going to rewind that again, and I'm going to run it so everyone can see that happening and see the analytics happening in real time. All right, this is what I was referring to before. This is a video we produced with a police department on the East Coast. This happens to be our offices in Philadelphia. We're actually running our weapons detection capability. You can see on the lower left-hand corner how geospatially, I'm going to stop it for a moment, how geospatially the shooter is identified, not only where they have been, which is the pale, the light green points on this map, but the red where the shooter is right now. You can imagine the benefit of a situational response when in real time law enforcement or the building or whatever authority is given this information. Not only have we identified a weapon, but we're able to classify that weapon, long gun, handgun, etc., and locate the shooter geospatially on a map. This is a very exciting development for us. We're in production on this product right now. It is coupled with and combined with facial recognition or other algorithms that we're able to do. I'm going to start this again just so everyone can see it. You can watch the map as it lines up with alerting. When you see that bounding box around the gun, it's actually alerting. It's sending an alert to a higher level dashboard. Play that one more time so people can fully appreciate it. So, of course, the objective, and I think people will remember the fact that we signed some time ago a deal with 911 Inform. 911 Inform is perfect for that application because we are combining alerting mechanisms with geospatial location across overlaying on a building map, but on top of that, we're conducting some kind of workflow. And by that, I mean, if a weapon is detected and validated, the building goes into lockdown. So this could be on the perimeter of the building where we would identify a weapon. And before the shooter has any chance to do any damage, a workflow engages where building goes into immediate lockdown. You might all remember that terrible tragedy in the FedEx facility in the Midwest, where the shooter approached the building from 20 meters away. He was identified as having a weapon, but because there was no mechanism or workflow to address that, people died. And we've now got an opportunity to do something really meaningful using our weapons detection as an entree to that category. A very meaningful area of development at the moment. So Jack, that is essentially the end of my presentation. I wanted to show some demos and stuff going live, and I'm happy to turn it over to you to guide the question and answer, if you will.
Okay, perfect. Jay, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, fantastic. So this was, okay, so I just wanted to, actually, I thought maybe we could go back at some point, do a share, but okay. So there's a couple of really amazing things here to unpack. Let's kind of start, and then we'll kind of talk about today's news, the partnerships. We'll go to Q&A. But I think the main idea, which I think finally, it's been a while since you did a, so people can actually see what you're doing and how this actually works in the store. This concept of stores media, which is really like, I mean, this is a multi-billion-dollar opportunity. This is really like, what, again, it's like we talk, it's what Google did, the Google ads, what Facebook did, for the internet, you're basically doing in the physical space, in stores, in, retail locations. And I think, look, the store is not dead. The store, I think, is going to come back bigger than ever because people are really, I mean, there were social animals. People are tired of being at home shopping online. They want to go into physical stores, and especially when you get all the stuff, this videos, it becomes much more engaging. It becomes entertaining. People want to be entertained. This is the next level of basically retailing. This is where it's going. People want that experiential thing. So the data that you're able to get, it's incredible stuff.
Well, here's some data to support what you just said. These are hard facts. In retail, the four major categories that we look at and address are drug, grocery, C-store, and DIY. 90%, actually it's around 88%. 88% of fulfillment in each of those channels is done in person. So it's not being impacted by e-commerce. Of course, that's enormous. 12% is enormous in terms of where else is it being fulfilled. But 88% is still in bricks and mortar. And the challenge, as you just said, is making bricks and mortar more engaging, more of an experience. Now, what do brands want? What have brands always wanted? Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, PepsiCo. They want to engage in an intimate relationship with their customer. And the more intimate that relationship, the more is in it for brands. Brands view the store's digitization as an opportunity to go past the retailer directly to their customer. And that's important. I had a chief digital officer of a $52 billion brand say to me this week, I'm going to paraphrase it. The store is today where Google was in 1994 for the internet. We're just now at the beginning of measurement in store. We today as a brand, and I'm speaking as if I were him at the moment, we today as a brand learn several thousand things about e-commerce visitation, many data points, several thousand. And when a shopper comes into our bricks and mortar store, we have 5 data points. So we have to figure out a way to diminish that delta so that the experience can be measured. We now have lift and momentum in store. It is forever changing.
Jay, I think your run froze up a little bit. You were saying, can you just repeat that?
Sure. I'm not sure where I froze up, but
the last part.
The chief digital officer saying to me, we have several thousand data points when someone visits our e-commerce site, and we have 5 data points when someone comes into our store, and we need to reconcile those two polar opposites. And the last point I was going to make is we are now at a point where the store will be forever changed because brands want to engage in an intimate experience with their customers, and they want to disintermediate eliminate the retailer in that process.
And this does, but in a very, obviously in a friendly way. There's transactions happening. So the main takeaway though is that although what we saw on the screen, I mean, it looked amazing. The reality is that this is not a concept stock. I mean, you're actually in a revenue phase. I mean, this company is really scaling right now. So, and it's really on track to getting to that valuation. I mean, I think all you need to do really to get there is going to be to hit a run rate of, let's say, even I think 30 million run rate could get you to $1 billion valuation.
Yeah.
It's such a big, what you're addressing, such a massive market opportunity that is untapped, and it's. I mean, anybody who sees it, they get it right away, which is one of the reasons I think that you have all these major partnerships with, whether it was Sensormatic. I mean, you have all these companies that are on board. I mean, it's a massive validation. So I think the question is, at what point do you think you can hit that 30 million run rate? Because I think that'll get you to that $1 billion valuation, which I think would be what, like $5 on the stock? What is that roughly?
Yeah, something like that. We're 185 issued and out, so 5 would take us north of $500 million, maybe put us at 700 million roughly. Well, let me answer the question. And there's really two ways. I've given out guidance for 2021 of 4 to 7 million in billings and 15 to 20 million in bookings. And so let's assume we get the enormous favor from the marketplace that the forward multiple is what is projected on. So if we get forward, if we get 10 times or 20 times or 25 times our forward multiple, we'll be at $400 or $500 million market cap in less than a year, and potentially considerably less than a year. So, and I just don't. I mean, especially lately, I'm not in the mood of trying to project where the market's gonna do and how's the market's gonna perform. But our job is just to keep our nose to the grindstone and patiently wait for this thing to get appreciated for what it is. Because you're right. If you look at the company and you look at the one deal, ABI, the aggregate value of that deal is north of $1 billion. So we just have to execute. And I'm not trivializing execution. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but that's where we are right now. We're in delivery. We're not in building. We're not in concept. We're not in R&D. Sure, we're continuing to push the envelope on R&D and innovate, but we're in delivery. We're in production at the moment. And to your point, I want to double down on what you just said. We have at least a half a dozen. I think I counted them last night, and I think I've got 7 of billion-dollar market cap companies that are our partners. And just take a breath there, because we're a small company, and we've been able to convince these multiple very large channel partners that we are an important and strategic participant for them. I'm very proud of that, and I appreciate that we need now to deliver on the basis of those contracts and relationships. But you got to start with where we are now, or you got to start with those relationships. And I'm really delighted to WestRock, an S&P component company, Sensormatic, a very large multi-cap, Intel, Ability out of Taiwan, Anheuser-Busch. I mean, it's significant, in my opinion.
Yeah. No. By the way, the internet won out just when you were saying what the value of the Modelo contract is. Just repeat that part. The dollar value of once it's fully deployed.
The aggregate dollar value to the joint venture, just to be completely clear and honest about it, is north of $1 billion over the 5-year run. To Visibility, it is 300 million, 350 million. So, I mean, it's the largest media network, largest retail media network on the planet at the moment. So if you just look at that deal and try to figure out what the market cap impact to Visibility of that deal is, you're going to get north of $1 billion just based upon that and that alone. And I'm not suggesting we're resting on our laurels, because we're not. We're doing other things, but that's a big deal.
Right. And this is just one store in Latin America. This, and there's again thousands. You got 7-Eleven. There's CVS. Well, I mean, we can go through a trillion. I mean, there's thousands of. I think I did some research. I mean, there's hundreds of chains that have north of 7,000 locations.
Yeah, globally.
In the Western world, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so so obviously, okay, so a couple of things, and then we'll go to the Q&A. We got some great questions I want to get into. So we got number one is the stores media concept, massive concept. You're getting traction already. You got deals, you got revenue coming in, and I think in the next like 6 months or so, we're going to hit that inflection point where people will say, "Wow." I mean, I think probably maybe in the next quarter they're going to wake up and say, "Wow, this is really happening." The train has left the station. The rocket has left the launch pad. I mean, this thing is I think it's very important for people to understand that because we haven't probably touched on enough is what you have is really extremely scalable, because I mean you've basically built this to scale. I mean you can right now, because through these partnerships you're not you're not depending on having to manufacture this stuff yourself, deploy. You're very asset light. It's very agile, as that's the new thing people like to use in corporate. Very agile company, right? Because everything is through partnerships. So you can, in theory, you can scale to, I don't know, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how fast can you scale if you needed to?
Well, we've removed scale as a barrier for this little company, right? We've been able to construct partnerships that provide enough value to our partners that would allow us to remain in our lane. And our lane is innovative, world-crushing, world-beating software. That's our lane. And of course, we're more intimately involved in the actual selling process because the glossary of stores media, the glossary of security, the expertise required is significant. So we don't really rely upon our partners to sort of sell that in. We sell that in with our people, with our talent, with our staff. But as it relates to delivery, we're not bricks and we're not feet on the street. We can't be. We're too small to be. But Intel, to their enormous credit, identified this, I don't know, going back a couple of years now, and they used their Rolodex to assess the willing participants and brought to us key players. HCL, market cap of $43 billion. Tech Mahindra, market cap of $19 billion. These are major players that everybody in tech knows about. And they have feet on the street. They have installers. They have day two. They have network operations centers. They have all the things that we now don't have to build. So to us, aggressive growth means sell. Don't worry about deployment. Don't worry about delivery, because those are in the hands of experts that do that. And that's an important thing to take off my worry list.
Okay, Jay, let's jump into some audience questions. Okay, first question is actually talking about today's news announcement, which can you give some details? What does it mean? Like, what's the significance of this for VSB?
I think it starts with a short narrative. Intel, like very large companies, are looking for other ways of building services revenue. And one of the companies we've been doing business with, you'll note in the press release that 2 of them are named and the 3rd is not yet named. So I'm not at liberty to talk about them, but if anyone's following our company, they'll know pretty quickly who it is. They have their own cadence and their own way of disclosing the information. But both Tech Mahindra and HCL have disclosed their participation in this venture. It's not a joint venture. It's a brand new company with brand new executive management, with brand new funding. It's a Series A round for $6 million. We have a 10% ownership in that. And the 4 of the 5 major projects that the company starts with have visibility product and licensing at the core. So not only do we get revenue from that as a license, it'll be our biggest customer in the next 12 months by far, but we also have a 10% ownership participation in equity. The other participants are all, well, one of them is a major Fortune 50 company in the semiconductor space, and the other 2 are in the delivery space, large systems integrators in the delivery space, HCL and Tech Mahindra. No slouch, either one of them. I just gave you the market cap specs just a moment ago. So we're now in a place where globally we're going after these marketplaces. The 2 in particular are retail analytics as a service, more deals like ABI or AB InBev, and security as a service, more deals like Mexico City. So we're basically taking both of those as enormous proofs of concept and creating a reference grid around them. And then HCL, Tech Mahindra, and the third party is selling this to their sales force globally. That Austin GIS entity that was created by those of us that are part of the equity participants will have revenue impact to visibility in 2021, in the remaining 4 months of 2021. That's how quickly it's getting off the ground.
Okay, so this is the infrastructure as a service. This is
Yes.
this is what this deal is. Okay, you're saying this is going to generate revenues in the next 4 months, like now, basically.
Yes, like now. Yeah.
Okay, so again, your part. I mean, these are you got what is it? HCL, Tech Mahindra, huge companies. Exactly. So what exactly what are they selling? What is this that they're going? What's going to be the deployment?
I'll take one vertical really quickly. So it's a smart city vertical. An example would be we go to a large government that is looking to do things to use computer vision technology to secure their borders, as an example. And so they may want to do this at 350 land entries, border entries, which they might have around the perimeter of their country. That becomes an engagement of Austin GIS. The delivery partner will be HCL, and the component player would be Visibility. So computer vision to identify vehicle detection, person detection, maybe even weapon and license plate detection. And we would be the component supplier on the software. HCL would round up the servers and deploy the cameras and monitor all of that, and that's how we would do business together. And the reason why is we want to be able to go to those kind of customers and say, don't worry about the nuisance of putting your bill of materials together. Don't worry about the nuisance of procurement. We will do it all, and we'll wrap it in a services umbrella, give you a 5-year contract, and now the entire thing is, instead of 40 million capex, it's $1 million a month for 5 years. That's the kind of approach that we're taking, and we're focused on large $200 million plus deals.
Okay, so these basically sounds like deals with major government type contracts, essentially. Essentially, so you're basically supplying the AI, the machine learning, all that stuff.
Right.
That's it.
Right. I love it because it allows us to stick to precisely what we're disciplined to be, and doesn't get us in a place where we're doing things outside of our core skills and the capability. So this is exactly what we wanted. This is exactly what we planned for, and this perfectly on strategy. And now we have supplementing us delivery partners that can actually allow us to move faster and scale more rapidly.
Okay, so so you gave an example, like this would be used at like a border crossing or something else. So basically, I'm going to use an example. Okay, you got these cameras displays at an airport, right? People are coming off a flight, so before they get to the customs guys, they're looking at they're walking through the hallway, they're looking at ads, and the camera's kind of looking at them to see, is this guy acting suspicious?
A better or equally
something for customs. People fit a pattern, right? They maybe
right. An equally good example is precisely what we're doing for Anheuser-Busch,
right? Which
is 55,000 stores, a screen, a camera for each store. The camera's doing analytics for retail, right? The stuff that we just went through. Also analytics for security, and it's doing display. So instead of Anheuser-Busch or whatever entity putting all those pieces together, working on the bill of materials, going all through the procurement madness, instead that's being enveloped in a services umbrella and sold per store per month, which is precisely what infrastructure as a service is.
Okay. We're running a little late. I want to try to get to about 3-4 questions. Can we try to get a couple questions here? Jeremy's saying, did Jay just say the couple will make more money there? Did you say that you're going to make more money in the next 12 months with this new deal, this infrastructure as a service, than the Modelo? Is this even bigger than the Modelo deal?
I should probably parse my words as carefully as I'm thinking them. Potentially more deal. If we're tracking against our project cadence, which is really aggressive, then this deal will either equal or potentially eclipse the ABI deal.
Okay, so that essentially is, that kind of implies that this thing is already there. It's already off the ground. They have contracts that they're signing essentially right now.
Remarkably off the ground, in contract signing right now with projected revenue for 2021.
Okay, so it sounds like there's going to be some, all All right, we'll have to see. We'll have to.
Yeah, right.
Basically, this is going to be basically saying, stay tuned for the next few months. There's got to be something huge here that you're not disclosing, but there's something. Sounds like there's something huge in the. There's like an iceberg, big, massive event. Okay, I think we got a couple questions about Lenovo. We've got so many questions. I'm not sure if we're going to get to everything here. I think people were asking about the end cap. Here we go. Okay. If they are you doing something with auto checkout to compete with Amazon Go stores?
We are peripherally. We're not an autonomous checkout solution. That's a whole field of endeavor that we've looked at and have decided to pass on. But if you think about the use case of checkout, Jack goes and buys a case of beer and some vegetables and gets ready to check out. Now at that point of sale, where he is checking out and paying for his goods, we will do demographically triggered messaging to Jack for impulse buys. So you're at the point of checkout. We know who you are demographically. We might even know a little bit about your buying history if you've opted in as a customer. And based upon that, we will drive promotional messaging for you at the point of sale.
Okay, so essentially, it's very good. So you're basically staying in kind of the lane, the AI, the data. So to answer, I guess this is somebody else wanted to ask that question. So in the video, you were showing a cashierless checkout where so essentially, you're only doing the advertising part.
Our lane is demographically triggered advertising and measurement. So we measure the performance and the behavior and the sentiment of people at checkout, because that's a useful outcome. But we also drive advertising impressions at the point of checkout. That's our role in cashierless or autonomous stores. That's the role.
Okay. Let's see if we can get a couple more questions here. Somebody was asking about NASDAQ. A couple of people were asking about NASDAQ. Okay, sorry, I think my computer froze. Okay.
$4 initial listing requirement, 30 days sustained, $4 USD. So, I mean, it's a fantasy conversation at the moment. But
it's not.
My philosophy is we're not going to do a 20-to-1 or 25-to-1 reverse just to achieve a $4 ILR, because that does not achieve the objectives of the shareholders. It just doesn't do the job.
I appreciate that. Yeah, because this is like, I don't like reverse splits. Sometimes rarely they work. Rarely they work.
They'll work if you're already on a forward momentum, right? They'll work, but it's just so difficult to thread the needle. I prefer to do it the organic way, frankly.
Yeah. No, this is much better. Okay, so maybe this might be our last question. Okay, can you explain how the different partnerships won't compete with each other?
We spend a lot of time trying to convince, or working on convincing, with pretty good success so far, the executives of those various companies to ensure that they can play nice in the sandbox. There's room for everybody. And so far, that's been pretty successful. In fact, we haven't announced this yet, but we'll be announcing a retail consortium, which is actually going to have two competitors in the same consortium together, working collaboratively, which is sort of weird. And the second thing is this Austin GIS has two aggressive competitors, both as board members and equity participants, that are combining quite nicely. There's so much to do here in terms of the global addressable market that no one's really worried about the nickels and dimes at the moment. Okay. I'm not sure that that'll continue forever, but it's good for now.
So you meant like HCL and Mahindra, because they're both.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. Both Indian companies, both come from the same lineage, right? And both aggressive competitors with one another.
We have a great question. Okay, so the software, the technology, is it at the camera?
So great question, and a technical question. And it sounds to me like that might be asked by a technical person. So I'm going to give a technical response. We run at the near edge, at the far edge, and on the cloud, wherever you wish to run. So a local compute cluster in the neighborhood, if you will, or on the camera itself. This is the work we did with VSBLTY, a world's first, as far as I know, where we're actually running inference logic or computer algorithms directly on VPU, visual processing unit, on the camera itself. So the camera does not need companion compute to do inference logic, which is kind of cool. And you'll see more from that soon.
By the way, I think it's very interesting. I don't want to like go on a tangent because I love this marketing stuff that you have. But you showed something by the end cap display, and you said I wrote this down. three zones. What is it? The three zones right by the end cap, and they're basically like about 2 feet apart each zone. So so depending on where that person is, it has a different add value measurement, all that good stuff.
Right.
I mean, it's incredible stuff.
You got it.
Okay. By the way, so the other thing is, which is very interesting. So the 3 big markets you're going after for the retail deployment is the convenience stores, okay, which people know, like a 7-Eleven type store, whatever.
Four markets, Jack. C-store,
Yeah.
which is the place where this is getting adopted first. It has the most momentum.
Okay.
Grocery is seeing deployment. Look at Walmart, Kroger, Safeway. You're seeing fairly large scale deployments, and we're participating in some of those. And then DIY.
Okay.
And
drugstores. Okay. By the way, it's interesting. I just read an article in the Wall Street Journal that there's a massive shoplifting problem in San Francisco. They have a deal where if you can walk into a store and walk out with if you take out less than $900 worth of merchandise, they will not prosecute you. So you have people walking into drugstores now, right, and with bags like garbage bags, filling up with and they basically have guys who are like looking for specific things that they can resell on Amazon, whether it's a razor blade, different prescription OTC medicines. So, and they're walking. I mean, and it's like a multi-billion-dollar problem. Walgreens is closing down stores. So imagine if they deploy your thing, and they actually have special detectives now that are basically tracking these guys. They don't even care about the actual shoplifter. What they want to do is they want to get to the guy who's the fence, the main guy. So with your tech, they basically, if they deploy this at your technology at Walgreens stores, they could solve a lot of problems.
Because we not only do loss prevention, facial recognition detection. I mean, if someone steals from a Walgreens, it's probably not their first time. So they're already in the Walgreens loss prevention database. And right now that database consists of a loss prevention officer with a clipboard, right? So all we're doing is digitizing that. All we're doing is allowing computers to perform the same function. And when we deploy our computers along with our cameras, we're not just looking at the entrance, but we're looking within the aisles as well. So in the same breath, our systems are doing analytics for demographic and marketing purposes. They're also doing facial recognition for LP matches, for loss prevention matches. Two things at once: a little bit of offense, and a little bit of defense. And that's a great way to sell this solution. We're getting more and more traction with that narrative at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting. And like these Walgreens CVS stores, which are like in urban areas, I mean, their main thing is they need to maximize every square foot of space. So they need to know, like, where can they put up the merchandise so they can get who's passing through, how can they sell more? Basically, they need to sell within that, per person that walks in the store. This solves all that stuff. Okay, so Jay, thank you for the demo. I mean, that was the main. I mean, last week you answered a bunch of questions. Today, I just want people to see this demo because we haven't shown that in a while. It's amazing stuff. Oh, last question: was there another Fortune 500 company that you're partnering with?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
This is when I have to resist the urge to be the cowboy guy. I cannot breach the privacy. We have agreed to not disclose, and we're not going to disclose. The timing of disclosure, which will happen, is theirs, and I'm told it's in the November timeframe, but it could be sooner. It'll be clear to everybody who it is if you just watch what we've done and what we're doing.
I think what I should add, just for the audience, is that look, there's a lot of companies in the microcap world. They announce, oh, we have a partnership with whatever, this Microsoft or this company. I mean that means they bought a product or something. You actually have partnerships which
we actually have a company. We actually have a company that we own with that company.
Right.
And I'm on the board. They're on the board. The leadership team for this new company comes from that Fortune 50 company. So this is incredibly integrated. And
I think, and we've seen examples. I think people have posted and you haven't really promoted it. You should promote this more. But there's actually I think Intel has a page which talks about how your solution is deployed. Is it Intel or something? I think Intel or who's got. There's a bunch of them I've seen, like WestRock. It's like they're actually like real partners. They're actually selling your stuff.
There's not a day in my calendar. there's not a day in my calendar that doesn't have Intel meetings. Not a single day. So we're extremely integrated with Intel and about to become more integrated, not just on this Austin GIS front, which was mentioned earlier, but new initiatives that are parallel and equally compelling. So more to come there.
Okay. All right, Jay, you got voters here. Jay,
Okay, great. I'm Canadian. I'm ineligible as a Canadian. Yeah.
Well, they keep changing the laws here all the time, so you know, you got hope. Jay, listen, thank you again, and we'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. Thank you.